Hello everyone, my messy 14-inch Rockwell lathe. You can see I got stuff all sitting over here because I tore a bunch of stuff off of it. This is going to be a rather long video, and this video is I'm going to try to put some measurements of a bunch of parts on there and everything. The purpose of this video is, well, let me start out by giving you a quick backstory on this lathe. I purchased it in 2017 in March. It is now November 25th of 2021. When I purchased it, it was a bare bones machine. It didn't have no options with it. It did not even have a study rest. Of course, I immediately started looking for a study rest, a taper attachment, and a follower rest. After 2 years of searching, I did manage to find a study rest. I was just about to the point where I was getting ready to buy one and modify it. But I actually found one for it, but I still may buy one and modify it because I would sooner have one with the telescoping rods that come down. They just seem more stable to me. But anyways, that's another story. Have not found a follower rest yet. As of August of this year, I found a taper attachment. So I purchased it, and that's what this video is going to be about. And I'm going to put detailed measurements of the individual parts. I want to try to show views like somebody would show it on eBay, sitting on the bench, mounted on the machine. I'll even maybe throw the tape measure around like somebody might do if they put one in a picture on eBay for scale. And that way, if you run across one, you'll know exactly what you're looking at, because my 4 years of searching, I probably come across a dozen taper attachment where the seller did not know what they was for. You know, for sale taper attachment, Clausing, Monarch, South Bend, question mark. They had no clue. And it's possible that I passed the Rockwell one by and didn't even know it, especially in the early days when I first started looking for them, because I didn't have it sunk in yet what they look like. So that's what this video is going to be. I want somebody that maybe comes across something on eBay. They think it's a Rockwell. If they find this video, then they'll be able to determine if it's a Rockwell or not. So let's go over here and get started. I got it laid out on the workbench. I got it mocked up together. Check the book. I actually bought a book for it. It's actually a taper attachment install book. They sell them on eBay, pretty cheap. And I got all the major parts. I'm missing a few minor parts. I'm missing this handle. I just swiped this out of my forward and reverse for my feed lever just to have it in there, just so you fellas could see. It's the same handle. I was missing the gibs for it. I've since made them. That's what I just got done doing, making them gibs. And I just realized this like in the past month when I started, getting this thing ready. There's supposed to be shields over this. I looked for 4 years and I did not realize this. I really didn't realize it until I looked at the book. And I'll show you that here in a minute. But yeah, there's 3 shields that go on here, and they're all missing on this too. So I'm going to attempt to recreate them. And I looked at a bunch of, well, I think I found a total of 4 pictures online, and I'm debating on whether to insert them in here because some of them's off of forums, and I don't know if they'll say it's copyright bullshit if I put them on here or not, so I might not do that. I'll just show you mine, I guess. But out of all the pictures I managed to find, I only found 2 with shields on it, and the one is very hard to see. It's like very grainy, far away picture. And the other one, it has the shields, but this one here is like twisted up and bent like this way. So I don't know what's bending them. Evidently, they all got destroyed rather quickly, and they just got thrown away. Do you need them? Probably not, but I would sooner try to keep the chips, especially off of this area here, because it just gets aggravating to have to clean chips up. If I can get shields on it, never have to worry about it, that's what I'm going to do. So, where to start? I guess the first thing is maybe give you a couple different angles of view here. case somebody would take a picture of it. Try to pick out key things. I think one of the key things would be the way they got these guides on here, or they actually hold down this piece underneath. You'll be able to see that in a minute. That's probably a distinguishing feature, just by looking at a far away picture, that is. I think this is pretty unique here. And of course this here I think is just the way that looks. Now most likely they're not going to have this on it when they show it. It'll probably just be laying down there somewhere, but it's assembled like it's functioning right now. So I think it's pretty good, straight down view. All right, now let's start disassembling it so I can put it on the lathe, and I'll give you some measurements and some look at some parts. Stuff like that I'm not really worried about. It's just a nut. It's not this handle. If you was completely missing this handle, I mean, you don't really need to know the sizes, you just need to know how it functions. And if you see this middle piece unscrews out of here, see how that's made? It's actually bigger here than what it is here. And it's a big thread because it's got to fit over here. I think it's bigger than 3/4. My first guess is 3/4 10, but I think it might be bigger. 7/8. 7/8, what? I can't remember 7/8. 7/8, 4. Nah, it's 14. But it's a 7/8 thread. Haven't worked with 7/8 much. But that's that. Let me show you how it works, what it does. You're supposed to, I believe you're supposed to keep this tight. I still have yet to read the book. Keep this tight, and then when you want to use your taper attachment, you lock this in, and then that connects everything, and then you can free it up with that. I'll be able to know for sure once I get it on there, and I'll have it at the end of this video on there. This piece. This I'll give you some detailed measurements of. So I'd say they're shooting for 1.5 inches, but it's actually 479, 1.479. The groove width is 841, but that's just a casting. That's not milled. That groove is just cast in there. So I'd say the nominal dimension is probably 875 is what they were shooting for. How wide is it up here? 4 1/8. $761, so $750. Thickness 5/8. Let me grab the tape measure here. So the total length is 14.5, and your groove would start at 1, 2, 3, 4 inches from the left side and extend clear back all but a 1/2 inch from the end. In this groove, you got, if you had to make this thing, you got some play, because all you have to do is make sure this nut fits in there, this fits in there, and this thing here fits in there. So if you already have it, if you already have this piece, then you just need to make sure that fits in there. If you don't have it, then you can just make it so it fits in there. But see, this is only 720, so actually that should work at like 750, you would think. Underside. Now you can see they got clearance here, and I guess that would be for the nut, because if it stopped at the groove, then you couldn't get into that, so that allows it to go on back. So you're going to want that clearance there too if you have to make this piece. And that clearance stops inch and 25, 24, 22, 21 thousandths from the end. Once again, it's just casted, so I'd say they were shooting for an inch. And there is a marking on here, actually. It says A. I just now realized that. 2 tapped holes. That's for where the shield goes. That's not really important because you can pretty much put them wherever you want. If you got the shield, then you can just transfer the shield on there. If you don't have the shield, make the shield and then figure out where you want them. What's next? Let's do these next. 4 straight, what was they? 1024, I think. Bolts holding them in there. It's not really important. These things here, these would be very simple to make because you can kind of tell by the if it's not there how big it would have to be. Big enough to overlap this centerpiece and come out to the edge here, and as long as from here to here. And that is 1/8 inch stock, bar stock. 1/8 inch by 3/4 by whatever length here to here is. Get them off of there. Now you have a washer, and that's a it's not a washer, it's a washer. There's an R in there. Remember that. It actually tells you the dimensions of this in the book. The book states it is 1.5 inch diameter, 16 thick, 33/64 hole. Now you got a 3/8 24 nut, and then that's what this is. So we'll pull this. No, actually I want to leave this in place because I want to show you this here. I actually thought before I got this thing that possibly this part would be the same, but it's not. The difference is this has a spline in it, and it allows this to stay stationary while the taper moves in and out depending on which way you're cutting your taper. And I already got the other one apart, so I can actually lay them side by side here and show you. The one on the left is standard no taper attachment. This is for the taper attachment. And you can see it's actually the one with no taper attachment has a little bit more threads, but this one is actually longer and has a longer turn down. And of course it has this on it, and this is just a pivot. This piece here is actually threaded on there. It's a fine thread. I haven't had it all, so I just have to guess 1/2 20. It's either 1/2 20 or 7/16, but it's a fine thread. And the reason that's threaded on there, and you see the set screw, that's so you can get the in play out of it. I would imagine. Gets too much play this way, you can give that a turn, which I already did. I already took the play out and then tightened the set screw down. Now it looks like to me, I was here looking at this thing, if you didn't have this, you'll see the little pin here. So this spline section right here, the female spline, the internal spline, is actually a collar. So I'm thinking, it looks like to me you could turn a little nub onto this, cut it off here and turn the nub, pin this onto there and be able to use this. But you'd have to have somebody make the internal splines. The external ones ain't, I mean, I could do them as soon as I get a indexing head, but internal requires some more broaches and stuff that I ain't got. I suppose you possibly could. A lot of taper attachments, I think it's the South Bend, they would just use a single keyway in here. So I guess you could redesign it. I think there might be room in there to make this diameter bigger and put 1 or 2 keyways in there and use that, and then just put a keyway in here, and then that would still do the same function the same way. But anyways, the total length of this is about 21.5, not counting the handle down there. All right, you seen how that went up into this thing. Of course, that hole side here, the hole size is really close to that pin, so you don't get play. Now this thing is 10 inches. 2 inches. What am I making? 10 inches too? Oh, thickness. 3/8. And the holes, call that a 1/2 inch. Call that a 3/8. So, and this is the reason I prefer dial calipers over digital for a lot of things. Because I know the center of that hole is 3/16. 150, 60, 70, 85, 80, 67. So the dimension to the center of the first hole is 5/8. Let's call it that. That's a 1/2 inch hole. So that'd be 1, 2, 50. So 5 1/8 to the center of that hole. And of course they're on center this way. Put that over here. Let's do this thingy. This is the first piece that gets a gib in it. And that would be the long one I got over here. And I'll just use cast iron to recreate them. You can see I got holes in it. Well, just dimples. They're only drilled, I don't know, 80 thousandths deep. What I did is I put it all together, drew the set screws down to leave marks, and then I took a drill bit and drilled them out a little bit. That's just so the set screws are always, even if they're not, if they loosen up, it'll keep that gib from sliding out of place. That's why I did that. And I don't know, I think that gib worked out to be 3/16. I think I got them thicker, but I think that's probably, yeah. I got it like 195-ish. So I'd say it's probably designed for 3/16 gibs. 3/16 by probably 5/8. I'd just make it 600. Of course, these has got a parallelogram on them for the other ones. All right, back to what we was doing. What was we doing? Oh, we're getting ready to measure this. Okay, this is the side with the set screws. It is 15 thousandths shy of an inch, 985, and that is 913. Wait a minute, that ain't right. That's it. Oh my, yeah, not yeah. So there's what, I don't know why that make no sense to me. I would think the side with the gib would have been thinner side, but this is actually thicker. Say 985 there. So say 985 for that, and then see how much thinner this one is. 911-ish. Width. Of course, this is just the width of this plus the gib, plus a little bit extra play. But it appears to be about 10 over 2. 10 thousandths bigger than 2. Length. .085. Did I measure that already? I don't know. I get lost. So basically 3.9. 1.2. And this thing goes on here. The set screws facing away from the lathe. The lathe's over here. So that would mean this bolt has to be approximately, we'll just call it 750. So it's a 1/2 inch. So it's 2.5 inches to the center of that. And then it's, of course, it's on center this way. That thing is sticking up out of there. 3.06, 3.05. 3 1/16. And you can see how they put it in there. It's actually threaded in there. I would guess it's threaded. It makes sense to me. And then they drilled where the 2 diners meet and shoved a roll pin in there. And that keeps it from unscrewing. All right, so that's that piece. What next? What next? I have to take this off. Then I'm going to have to set you guys down because I cannot pull it apart one-handed. Might not be able to get this apart one-handed. Now this is designed to move. This bore is a lot way bigger than this screw, and I guess that's for this. And these washers on here, they're actually called rocking washers. And I'll show you that in a minute or 5 if I can get this thing unscrewed. Why did I screw that thing the whole way in there? It went right in too. Rocking washers. I'll show you them here. One washer is convex and the other is concave. One day this washer said to this washer, "Your cave vexes me." He. Anyways, back to this. Let's get some measurements. About, if you would ever see one of these on eBay, I'm not familiar with the history of the Rockwell taper attachments, but I do know the south bends would get busted all the time. This part here. What they would do, if I remember, it's been 100,000 years since I seen one, but I'm actually back in school. I milled one out. If I'm not mistaken, see this clamps onto the flat way. If I'm not mistaken, the south bend ones clamp onto the V way, or both. I can't remember. And I think they would bust that thing right at that V. Just what they would do is they'd forget to unlock it and then start feeding, I guess, and reach the end, and then it would just bust it off. This looks a lot more robust from what I remember, so maybe these don't get busted. But if I ever come across one on eBay, I think I will buy it, especially if it's been sitting there and nobody's nibbling on it. But we have some casting numbers. If somebody shows them, you just struck gold. 414-030-14-5006, and that is one hell of a big number. And if you ever see that number on something, even if they don't show the whole part, if they just show you that number, I would almost bet my life that it's this part, because that's like 414,030,145,006. How many other numbers, casting numbers, could there be that's identical to that one? I kind of doubt there's any. I can't remember if I give you this dimension. Just try to do what somebody on eBay might do. All right, get that out of the way.